Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. Abu Dhabi Crown Prince in India on an official visit. First ever visit to India as Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on campaign trail in Jammu and Kashmir calls upon residents of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to join India, stating that Pakistan treats them as foreigners. Reaffirming unwavering support to Kiev, Italian Prime Minister Meloni suggests India's role in resolving Russia-Ukraine conflict. Israel closes its land border crossings with Jordan after deadly attack at Allenby Bridge crossing. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemns the killing. In hockey, India beats China in Asian Champions Trophy opener. India defeat the hosts China by 3-0. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said that India can play a role in finding a solution to conflict in Ukraine. Giorgia Meloni's remarks came 2 days after Russian President Vladimir Putin said India could mediate peace talks in resolving the conflict. Notably, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Ukraine in August, where he reiterated for peaceful resolution of conflict through dialogue and diplomacy. Fuzail Ahmed reports.
Since the beginning of the conflict in Ukraine, India has consistently called for immediate cessation of hostilities. India has called upon both sides to return to the path of diplomacy and dialogue. And now, members of the global community are backing India's position. After Russian President Vladimir Putin, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said that India could play a role in resolving the conflict.
I believe actor nations like China and India have a role to play and must play a role to resolve the conflict in Ukraine. The only thing that cannot happen, gentlemen, is to think that the conflict can be solved by abandoning Ukraine to its fate.
Meloni's statement came after the Russian president made similar remarks on the 5th of September.
We respect our friends, partners, who I believe are sincerely interested in resolving all issues related to this conflict. This is primarily the People's Republic of China, Brazil, India. I'm constantly in contact with our colleagues on this issue. And I have no doubt that the leaders of these countries, we have a trusting relationship with them, sincerely strive to help understand all the details of this complex process.
Earlier in July, Prime Minister Modi had paid a visit to Russia. Prime Minister had pushed for peaceful resolution of the conflict.
शांति की बहाली में भारत हर संभव सहयोग करने के लिए तैयार है और आपका भी सानुकूल विचार सुनकर के मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई और मैं भी आपको भी आश्वस्त करता हूं और विश्व समुदाय को भी आश्वस्त करता हूं कि भारत शांति के पक्ष में है.
Later, Prime Minister also visited Poland and Ukraine in August. Prime Minister delivered a message for peace and diplomacy in Poland.
यूक्रेन और पश्चिम एशिया में चल रहे संघर्ष हम सभी के लिए गहरी चिंता का विषय है. भारत का यह दृढ़ विश्वास है कि किसी भी समस्या का समाधान रणभूमि में नहीं हो सकता. हम शांति और स्थिरता की जल्द से जल्द बहाली के लिए डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी का समर्थन करते हैं.
Prime Minister Modi met with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv on the 23rd of August. Prime Minister underscored India's commitment to peace, saying India's on the side of peace.
हम न्यूट्रल नहीं थे, हम पहले दिन से ही पक्षकार रहे हैं और हमारा पक्ष है शांति का। हम बुद्ध की धरती से आते हैं, जहां युद्ध को कोई स्थान नहीं होता है।
During his visit to Ukraine, Prime Minister also highlighted Mahatma Gandhi's message of peace. Fuzail Ahmed reporting for DD India.
Ukraine and Russia accused each other of overnight air attacks on their border regions. A Russian airstrike on the Ukrainian border city of Sumy killed 2 people and injured several others early on Sunday. Sumy lies just across the border from Russia's Kursk region, where Kyiv launched a shock offensive last month aiming to create a buffer zone inside Russia. Meanwhile, regional authorities have urged people in 183 Sumy settlements near the Russian border to evacuate, and that thousands of others in the area had already done so. While Russia claimed that 3 civilians, including 2 children, were injured in Ukraine's air attack in its southwestern region of Belgorod. Both Sumy and Belgorod regions have been subject to frequent attacks. Both sides deny targeting civilians, saying the attacks are aimed at destroying each other's infrastructure critical to war efforts. And the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Khalid bin Mohamed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, arrived in New Delhi on Sunday evening on an official visit to India. He was received at the airport by Union Minister for Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal and accorded a ceremonial welcome. This is his first visit to India as the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. Crown Prince is accompanied by several UAE ministers and a business delegation. He will meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi tomorrow and hold discussions on a wide range of areas of bilateral cooperation. The Crown Prince is also scheduled to call on President Draupadi Murmu and visit Rajghat to pay tribute to Mahatma Gandhi. On Tuesday, Sheikh Khalid bin Mohamed bin Zayed Al Nahyan will visit Mumbai to participate in a business forum in which business leaders from both the countries will participate. In recent years, the comprehensive strategic partnership between India and UAE has deepened in a wide range of areas, including political, trade, investment, connectivity, energy, technology, education and culture. The visit of Crown Prince will further reinforce strong India-UAE bilateral relations and open avenues for partnership in new and emerging areas. And DD India correspondent Amit Pal Singh joins us live to give more information on this. Hello, Amit. Abu Dhabi Crown Prince is in India now. And as far as we told our viewers, he was received by Union Minister for Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal. What all can we expect from his visit, Amit?
So that's the Crown Prince, Sheikh Khalid bin Mohamed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, will call on Prime Minister Narendra Modi tomorrow here in the national capital, where the two sides will first have a one-on-one meeting followed by a bilateral meeting. As you yourself said, that he's carrying a posse of ministers. He also has a business delegation accompanying him. So there will be bilateral talks between the two sides tomorrow on a wide range of issues covering the whole gamut of the relationship. He later, does ceremonials like he goes, pays a visit to the Rajghat. In the evening, he calls on the President of India, Draupadi Murmu. Day after, he's going to Mumbai, where he's addressing a roundtable of business leaders. He's carrying a huge business delegation. As you know, the trade between the two sides is pretty high, about 22, 23 figures, which are the official available figures. About $85 million is the bilateral trade between the two sides. So the two sides will be looking at enhancing, this trade relationship. India is a great investment destination for UAE companies. So looking at that, with the focus of Make in India, Make for the World, the companies of UAE, especially in the field of technology, will be looking at collaborating. So this all is what the Crown Prince shall be doing in India.
Okay, Amit, any key area or areas which will be, taken up during the talks tomorrow?
For the entire gamut of relationship, be it trade, investment, political relationship, technology, investments, culture, education, defense. There was a military exercise held in Rajasthan between the two forces, jointly held exercise. So they'll be looking at that. Apart from that, of course, the West Asia crisis, the Israel-Hamas crisis could also figure in the talks prominently. India has always favored that there should be immediate cessation of hostilities. So India would would convey to the UAE, because UAE, being an important player in the region, has significant influence on that. One more sector that I forgot to tell you was the energy sector.
Okay.
Cooperation across these sectors shall come up for discussions tomorrow.
Okay. Amrit, since you are thoroughly covering Crown Prince's visit, we expect you to come again and share what all happened. But as of now, thank you so much for your analysis. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has reached Riyadh, the capital and largest city of Saudi Arabia, to take part in first India Gulf Cooperation Council Foreign Ministers meeting. On his arrival, the minister met Saudi's Deputy Minister for Protocol Affairs, Abdul Majid Al Smari. He also welcomed by Ambassador Dr. Suhail Khan. During the visit, he is also expected to hold bilateral meetings with foreign ministers from GCC member countries. India and the GCC enjoy a deep and multifaceted relationship in areas including political, trade and investment, energy cooperation, cultural and people-to-people ties. On day one of his visit, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar visited the Saudi National Museum and King Abdulaziz Foundation to research and archives in Riyadh. The minister's visit to this iconic place brought out India's deep historical connect that now serves as a foundation to develop a strong contemporary relationship. On the second leg of the visit, External Affairs Minister will travel to Germany from 10th to 11th of September. This will be his third visit as minister to Berlin. Both India and Germany share a robust strategic partnership, and Germany is one of India's prominent trading partners and among the largest foreign direct investors. The External Affairs Minister will thereafter travel to Switzerland for an official visit from 12th to 13th of September. And DD India correspondent DV Vinod Kumar joins us live from Dubai for more in the story. Vinod, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has reached Riyadh, where he will be participating, in first India Gulf Cooperation Council Foreign Ministers meeting. What more do you have on this? Vinod, I think you have muted your console. Can you just unmute that? Okay, now can you begin again?
Yes. So that the first day of External Affairs Ministers visited Riyadh saw him visiting the key cultural sites in Riyadh, like you mentioned, the King Abdulaziz Center of Archives and the Murabba Palace. And the most important thing about this particular meeting that is going to happen tomorrow is that it is the first time that an inaugural GCC Foreign Ministers platform is going to be hosted by any country. So till now, we had a meeting of the GCC Triaca. Let me give a timeline of the history. The GCC as an institution was established in the year 1981. After that, first ever India GCC political dialogue took place on September of 2003 on the sidelines of United Nations. And it took another 20 years for a mechanism of consultations to be established between India and the GCC countries. And that happened upon September 2022. During that, the framework annual dialogue between India's External Affairs Minister and this GCC forum was established, whereby the India's External Affairs Minister and the GCC Triaca will engage in consultation. The GCC Triaca consists of the GCC Secretary General, the current President, and the future President. So, following this MOU, India's first GCC senior officials forum was conducted on 2023, and earlier this year, in the month of May, our consular and passport secretary had a visit to the GCC headquarters and met with our Secretary General. Following this, the External Minister himself is here to engage with all the foreign ministers of these GCC countries for the platform of GCC, as well as India's bilateral. There will be key bilateral meetings are also expected. So these are the main historical things and the current stature of what India's relation with GCC is.
Okay, Vinod, the GCC region has emerged as a major trading partner for India and is a home to a large Indian expatriate community. Now, could you provide some details on this?
Well. GCC and India enjoys historical relationship. For example, the Port Mira Rashid in Dubai, the coastal city of Kerala used to trade with this area from the ancient times, 2,000, 3,000 years back. And the Gulf is India's immediate neighborhood. So it is separated only by this Arabian Sea. The GCC has emerged as a major trading partner with vast potentials of its oil, natural gas, energy. And these GCC countries, most of these countries like UAE, Saudi Arabia are in the process of reformation. You know about the Vision 2030 of Saudi Arabia, Vision 2031 of UAE. So India and these GCC countries share many commonalities when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to green energy. On the economic front, historic ties have been strengthened in the last 10 years after the current government has come to the stage. GCC contributes India's 35% of oil imports and 75% of gas imports. India imports most of its gas from Tata. And India is also executing its second phase of strategic petroleum reserves here in Ratnagiri in Maharashtra, and Saudi Arabia, one of the prime GCC countries, partnering it. And India has also been engaging with GCC countries for setting up of digital public infrastructure. You know that India, the UPI of India is now available in UAE in the form of G1. And India is extending this UPI platform to other countries also. And natural gas, green hydrogen, sustainability. There are many commonalities that India and the GCC countries share. And this meeting is going to be a landmark meeting for the future.
All right, Vinod, thank you so much for your analysis. And still to come on DD India Newshour. Protests erupted in France after President Emmanuel Macron picked centre-right Michel Barnier as the Prime Minister. United States hiring remains tepid in August. The eastern city of Goma of the Democratic Republic of the Congo struggling to cope with the Mpox outbreak. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. And now, 3 Israeli civilians were killed in an attack at the border crossing between the West Bank and Jordan on Sunday. As a result, Israel closed all 3 of its land border crossings with Jordan. Meanwhile, Jordanian authorities were also on high alert, and Interior Minister of Jordan ordered an investigation into the attack. More in this report.
Israeli security forces inspecting buses at a checkpoint leading to Allenby Bridge crossing after a gunman from Jordan killed 3 Israeli citizens on Sunday. It was the first attack of its kind along the Jordanian border since Hamas attacked on Israel on October 7. The attack took place in a commercial cargo area under Israeli control where Jordanian trucks offload cargo entering the West Bank. Israeli military claimed to have eliminated the terrorist. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu strongly condemned the killing of 3 Israeli civilians.
This is a difficult day. A loathsome terrorist murdered in cold blood 3 of our civilians at Allenby Bridge. On behalf of the government and myself, I send my condolences to the families of the murdered.
After the incident, Israel closed all 3 of its land border crossings with Jordan. Meanwhile, Jordanian authorities also ordered an investigation into the shooting incident. On the other hand, the Israeli military carried out airstrikes on Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. Bureau Report, DD India.
Protests have erupted in France after President Emmanuel Macron picked centre-right Michel Barnier as the Prime Minister. The left wing has accused Macron of stealing people's mandate. Watch our next report to know why.
Chanting slogans against what they call a coup attempt, thousands have hit the streets in French capital of Paris. The protests led by left-wing parties erupted over President Emmanuel Macron's Prime Minister choice. Macron picked centre-right former Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier for the role. Even though the left-wing New Popular Front got the top spot in the legislative elections held earlier this year.
What we have here is an absolutely incredible democratic hold-up. It's the left that wins the election and it's the right that governs.
Leftists have accused Macron of disrespecting people's mandate. They also fear that the new Prime Minister will push for wholesale spending cuts and a tougher stance on immigration. While the far right has threatened to unseat Barnier if he continues with Macron's policies.
I will judge him on his policies, which does not mean that there will be no vote of no confidence during his mandate. If on the other hand, he is the new front man for Macronism and he continues the policy that was led by French President Emmanuel Macron and which was severely sanctioned at the ballot box last July, then this government will fall.
The demonstrations follow almost 2 months of political deadlock. So far Barnier is concerned, he has a long political career, including as a minister. But now he faces an uphill task of forging an alliance with the Conservatives, members of Macron's camp, and the left, because his party lacks a majority. And Barnier needs to survive a vote of no confidence to retain his post. Bureau Report, DD, India.
Amid the protests, far-right leader Marine Le Pen has urged President Macron to hold a referendum on key issues such as immigration, suggesting that giving the people a direct vote might help diffuse political tensions. Experts have warned that France is set for a period of instability as Barnier's hold on power is seen as fragile and dependent on support from Le Pen's anti-immigration National Rally Party. In Algeria's presidential election, which was held on Saturday, preliminary figures have revealed that less than half of the country's eligible voters cast their ballots this time. Despite hopes for a higher turnout, the election has been marked by widespread apathy. 78-year-old incumbent President Abdelmadjid Tebboune is heavily favored to secure a second term against his main challengers, moderate Islamist Abdelhali Assani and a socialist candidate Youssef Ashish. Tebboune's primary challenge was to boost voter participation after the historically low turnout of over 60% in 2019 election, which saw him elected in the wake of mass protests demanding the resignation of former President Abdelaziz Bouteflika. The United States hiring remained tepid in August even as the unemployment rate ticked lower, a development likely to fuel ongoing debate over how big an interest rate cut the Federal Reserve should undertake. Non-farm payrolls rose by 142,000 following downward revisions to the prior 2 months, Bureau of Labor Statistics data showed. The unemployment rate edged down to 4.2%. US President Joe Biden attended a church service in Delaware on Saturday as US efforts continue to end the conflict in Gaza. The head of the Central Intelligence Agency said a more detailed ceasefire proposal would be made in next several days. He added he was working very hard on texts and creative formulas with mediators Qatar and Egypt to secure a ceasefire by finding a proposal which satisfies both parties. US Secretary of State Antony Blinkin plans to travel to the United Kingdom on Monday, a week after Britain suspended some arms export licenses with Israel over equipment that could be used in the conflict in Gaza. In the trip slated to go through Tuesday, Blinken will open the US-UK strategic dialogue. Blinken will also meet with senior government officials to discuss issues including the Indo-Pacific, the AUKUS defense pact between the US, Australia, Britain and the Middle East, and collective efforts to support Ukraine in the conflict against Russia. Former U.S. President and Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump pledged in Wisconsin on Saturday to throw up unprecedented tariffs and clamp down on immigrants. Speaking at a regional airport in Mozzini, the Republican presidential candidate warned that even allies like the European Union would face new trade restrictions if he wins the November 5 election against Democratic nominee Kamala Harris. He repeatedly presented migrants as a grave danger to Wisconsin, warning without evidence that immigrants in the country legally could evict local residents from their homes.
We're run by stupid people. Stupid people. And we found that out at the debate with Joe. How did that work out? And we're going to find it out again on Tuesday night.
While the Trump campaign has identified Hispanics and black men as areas of growth for the Republican Party, much of Trump's campaigning in recent weeks has been in small Rust Belt cities and towns that have few of either demographic. U.S. Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris welcomed the support from former Vice President Dick Cheney and his daughter, former Representative Liz Cheney. The Vice President said on Saturday that she was honored to win their backing. In a statement released on Friday, Cheney called Trump a threat and voting for Harris a duty. The Harris campaign said on Friday that Cheney's had joined a growing movement of Republicans putting country over party by supporting Harris.
I'm honored to have their endorsement, and I think that what they both, as leaders who are well respected, are making an important statement that it's okay, and if not important, to put country above party.
Manhunt continues after shooting incident in Kentucky. The Kentucky police are searching a rugged terrain near a national forest for the suspect after at least 7 people were injured by gunfire while driving down the rural stretch of an interstate highway. The gunfire erupted from a wooded area, striking multiple vehicles near London. Local authorities confirmed that numerous persons have been shot. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear addressed the situation, asking the public to pray for those affected and promising more details as they emerge. Meanwhile, London Mayor Randall Weddell urged residents to avoid the area while the suspect remains at large.
I would like to say at this time that all of our first responders are safe. The subject or subjects have not been apprehended, but they are searching for them. But I'm confident they will apprehend them. We are asking everybody in the city of limits to be vigilant and know what your surroundings. If you're home, keep your doors locked. I'm not asking anybody to panic. There is no immediate danger here in the city. But again, while these guys or this person is on the loose, we are asking everybody to be safe. If you're out and about, just be vigilant.
Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Pope Francis was accorded a warm welcome as thousands of people gathered to welcome him on his arrival to the remote Catholic town of Wanimo in Papua New Guinea on Sunday. He will later depart for East Timor. Pope Francis is on a 12-day visit of Southeast Asia and Pacific. Typhoon Yagi wreaked havoc in China's Hunan province, uprooting trees and blocking roads, damaging power lines and destroying more than 25,000 houses. So far, 526 and 100 people across 19 cities in the province have been affected by the typhoon, with 312,000 in fact and 600 people relocated for safety, and 76,000 people have been temporarily resettled as Yagi continues its devastating streak. The eastern city of Goma of the Democratic Republic of Congo is struggling to cope with the outbreak of Mpox as confirmed cases keep rising. Congo has emerged as the epicenter of the outbreak. So far, there have been reports of 20,463 suspected cases, including 635 deaths. And still to come on DD India Newshour. We will discuss India's key role when it comes to finding a solution to Russia-Ukraine conflict. 8th September is celebrated as a World Literacy Day. Stay with us to know more. And Tata Group will set up the first ever semiconductor project of the region at Jagirod in Assam.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of the headlines. Abu Dhabi Crown Prince in India on an official visit. First ever visit to India as Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on campaign trail in Jammu and Kashmir calls upon residents of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to join India, stating that Pakistan treats them as foreigners. In hockey, India beats China in Asian Champions Trophy opener. India defeat the hosts China by 3-0. Okay. Joining us today is former senior diplomat Ambassador Mohan Kumar to shed light on the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict and India's crucial role when it comes to resolving this. Ambassador Mohan Kumar, a very warm welcome to the broadcast, first of all. Okay, to begin with, how critical is National Security Advisor Ajit Doval's visit to Moscow in the larger framework of India's peace mediation efforts? And given the ongoing dynamics of Russia-Ukraine conflict, why is now a pivotal moment for Doval's visit? And what impact might it have on the potential for dialogue?
So thank you very much for having me. I think the National Security Advisor's visit to Moscow must be seen in the context of a follow-up to the Prime Minister's own visit to Moscow in July, and then his subsequent visit to Kiev when the Prime Minister met with Zelensky. So one way of looking at it is that, of course, the National Security Advisor is going to Moscow to participate in the BRICS NSA conference. But then what happens in these multilateral meetings is that a number of meetings happen on the margins of the multilateral meeting itself. So I'm very sure the National Security Advisor will take this opportunity to meet with his counterpart in Moscow, the Russian interlocutors, to whom he can then do two things. One, convey to him the conversation that Prime Minister of India had with Zelensky in Kiev. And two, to gauge from them their reaction to what Zelensky may have conveyed to Prime Minister Modi. So far, I see India's role as a facilitator, not as a mediator. As a facilitator who's actually taking messages indirectly from one party to the other, just to see if both parties can be brought together at a subsequent stage.
Okay. Mr. Kumar, recently, Italy's Prime Minister also mentioned India as one of the key countries that could play a role in resolving the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now, how does this recognition of India's potential influence, like you were also mentioning, reflect the country's growing stature in global diplomacy?
Oh, I think that's absolutely spot on. There is no question in my mind that there are only a handful of countries who are now competent to even play this messenger role. I mean, we are not even talking of a role of mediation so far. It could be in the future, but right now, even taking messages from one party to the other is such a difficult task. And the fact that the Prime Minister of India is one of the few leaders who can actually go to Moscow, talk to Putin, and then go to Kiev and talk to Zelensky itself puts India in a very prime position. It's certainly a recognition of two or three things. One, in the fact that India took a neutral position in this conflict, because if you take too one-sided a position, then your chance as a facilitator or a mediator becomes impossible. Second, as you rightly say, India is now seen as a leader of the global south.
Yes.
India is finally seen as a country with gravitas and clout. So no wonder the Italian Prime Minister talks of India. Of course, she also mentioned China, I have to say.
Yeah.
But I think she's talking about just a handful of countries, and very frankly,
correct.
if there is any role to be played, it can only be played by either India or by China and Brazil. But I want to draw your audience to the attention of the fact that China and Brazil have already exhausted their possibility by putting up a peace plan which did not
I'll
fly.
come to that. Yeah, I'll
not fly.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll just come to that. Sir, President Putin has mentioned India alongside China and Brazil as a country with which he remains in regular contact regarding the Ukraine conflict. While China has proposed, it had proposed a 12-point plan with specific principles. Now you were saying that opportunity has been lost. Do you think India's more flexible approach makes it better positioned to facilitate open-ended talks?
I think India has been more
because perhaps you don't give a structured plan, maybe.
No, I think India has taken a more dispassionate and objective view on the conflict itself. The Chinese-Brazilian plan basically said that Ukraine must forget about the territories occupied by Russia. So that put off the Ukrainians completely. Ukraine said we cannot accept it. I think India has been smart in not trying to second guess the outcome of a negotiated solution. If you're going to be a facilitator or a messenger and then subsequently a mediator if possible, you cannot second guess the outcome. The outcome must be a negotiated outcome between the parties. It cannot be imposed by any mediator or facilitator. So I see it as smart diplomacy by India that we have not taken a position as to what happens with the territories occupied by Russia, what happens with incursions made by Ukraine into Russian territory, and we have not given our cards or revealed our cards about the ultimate eventual outcome.
But
I think that's where I think we've been smart.
Okay, but sir, the stance has always been clear that solution will only come through dialogue and diplomacy, and this is not the era of war.
Oh, absolutely. I think that is one point on which India has turned out to be absolutely correct. Within 2 months of the conflict, the Indian Prime Minister said diplomacy and dialogue is the way forward. And then, as you rightly say, the Prime Minister told Putin in the Astana conference a couple of years ago that, listen, this is not the era of war. And he's also told President Zelensky now that India is on the side of peace. So if there is one country which has steadfastly said diplomacy and dialogue is the way forward, that is India. And it appears to me that the whole world now realizes this cannot be decided on the battlefield. It will have to be decided on the negotiating table.
Sir, what does India bring to the table that other global powers don't? If you could just explain this to our audience.
Yes, I think India, as I said, brings to the table a certain amount of objectivity and neutrality that others don't. Secondly, we have maintained good relations with both parties. Russia, certainly, because we have an old legacy relationship with Russia. But as you noticed, the PM was equally comfortable in Kiev, talking to Zelensky, putting his arm around his shoulder, trying to comfort him when he went to the children's hospital. So I think we are one party which is seen as capable of dealing with both sides. Thirdly, I do believe sincerely that India carries with it the voice of the global south. No country in the global south wants this war to continue because it has had a terribly negative impact on most countries of the global south. for all these reasons, I believe India has gravitas and a particular specific role and prestige that not many countries in the world possess.
All right, sir, last question before I let you go. Now, with PM Modi's visits to Russia and Ukraine, then holding telephonic conversation with President Putin and President Biden discussing the issue, all these things happening, do you have an expected timeline for when this conflict might come to an end, or are we still in the early stages of diplomacy?
I think your last point is valid. Both parties are intensifying the conflict, and that normally happens just before people enter the negotiating table because they want to enter negotiations from a position of strength. If you ask me why Ukraine has chosen to attack Kursk within Russian territory, the only logic I can see is that Ukraine wants to go to the negotiating table vis-a-vis Russia from a position of strength. So I don't think we are there yet.
But do you think do you think that's a valid move?
I think it is valid. I think the Ukraine wants to have some cards with it when it goes to the negotiating table. Otherwise, it is Russia which holds all the cards now, because it is Russia which occupies 20% of Ukrainian territory. Ukraine doesn't have many cards with it, other than the fact that it is supported by the Western NATO. So I believe the Ukrainian incursion into Kursk was precisely so that at a later stage, Ukraine can say, okay, if you can give up some territory, we will give up Kursk. That seems to be the only logic. I'm not a military expert, but it seems to me the most optimistic interpretation of this intensification of conflict is that they could reach the point of military exhaustion by the end of the year, and sometime in the first quarter of next year, you could contemplate diplomatic negotiations.
All right, it was wonderful talking to you, sir, and thank you so much for coming onto the broadcast today and enlightening us on this particular issue and giving your thoughts. Updates now on assembly polls in North India's Jammu and Kashmir. On Sunday, while addressing an election rally in the Ramban Assembly constituency, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh asked the residents of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to join India, stating that Pakistan treats them as foreigners.
बहनों भाइयों, यहाँ भी सरकार बनाइए। यहाँ के विकास को देखकर पीओके के लोग कहेंगे कि अब हम पाकिस्तान के साथ नहीं रहना चाहते, हम भारत के साथ जाना चाहते हैं। और मैं आपको यह जानकारी देना चाहता हूं, अभी हाल में ही एक हलफनामा कोर्ट में देते हुए वहां के एडिशनल सॉलिसिटर जनरल ने यह कहा कि पीओके ये फॉरेन लैंड है। मैं पीओके के लोगों से कहना चाहता हूं, पाकिस्तान के लोग आपको फॉरेनर मानते हैं, आपको विदेशी मानते हैं, लेकिन भारत के लोग आपको विदेशी नहीं मानते हैं। पीओके के लोगों को हम अपना मानते हैं। आइए हमारे साथ आइए।
During his address, the Defence Minister also emphasized the positive developments in Jammu and Kashmir.
कांग्रेस पार्टी जिस नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस के साथ गठबंधन कर रखा है, उस नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस ने अपने चुनावी घोषणा पत्र में कहा है, हम आएंगे तो जो धारा 370 समाप्त की गई है उसे हम बहाल कर देंगे। या किसी के पास कलेजा नहीं है बहनों भाइयों कि अब धारा 370 को यहां पर बहाल कर सके। अब जम्मू कश्मीर टेररिज्म स्पॉट के रूप में नहीं जाना जाता है, बल्कि यह टूरिज्म स्पॉट के रूप में जाना जाता है।
India's Home Minister Amit Shah launched a documentary on Mumbaisamachar's 200-year-old journey in Mumbai on Sunday. The trailer of this documentary was released by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. On the occasion, Maharashtra CM Eknath Shinde and Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis were also present. On Monday, Home Minister Amit Shah will visit Lal Bagh to seek blessings of Lord Ganapati. A young male patient who recently travelled from a country currently experiencing Mpox transmission has been identified as a suspect case of Mpox in India. The patient has been isolated in a designated hospital and is currently stable. Samples from the patient are being tested to confirm the presence of Mpox. The case is being managed in line with established protocols, and contact tracing is ongoing to identify potential sources and assess the impact within the country. The development of this case is consistent with the earlier risk assessment conducted by the NCDC, and there is no cause of any undue concern. India is fully prepared to deal with such isolated travel-related case and has robust measures in place to manage and mitigate any potential risk. Still to come on DD India Newshour. Today marks the last day of the Paris Paralympic Games 2024, and India's performance has been exceptional so far. We'll tell you about the journey of India's para-athlete Navdeep Singh. Veteran Sports Administrator Raja Randhir Singh elected unopposed as the President of the Olympic Council of Asia during its 44th General Assembly in New Delhi. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. And India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar participated in the International Literacy Day celebrations in New Delhi. Speaking on the occasion, the Vice President called upon everyone to promote literacy, stressing that it was time for us to be in mission mode with commitment and passion to ensure 100% literacy at the earliest.
When we were independent as a nation, our literacy rate was 12%. And now we have only 20% to make up. That 20% to reach that saturation is not easy. But then challenging times get the best out of you.
8th September is celebrated as World Literacy Day. It is observed to remind policymakers, educators, and the public of the vital role literacy plays in building a more educated, peaceful, and sustainable society. India is making bold strides towards not just improving literacy rates, but also transforming the educational landscape for future generations. Here's a report.
The new education policy, or NEP 2020, is India's first education policy of the 21st century, introduced after a gap of 34 years. It is a comprehensive framework aiming to overhaul the Indian education system by focusing on the holistic development of students, inclusivity and critical thinking. One of its key objectives is to address literacy and numeracy issues at the foundational level. In addition to restructuring the curriculum, the NEP also emphasizes the importance of multilingualism, recognizing that students learn best in their mother tongue. The policy recommends that children be best taught in their local language up to grade 5. This is a significant step in ensuring that education is more accessible and meaningful for children across rural and urban India. The policy also introduces reforms aimed at reducing the dropout rate, which has been a significant barrier to achieving higher literacy, by offering a more flexible curriculum and multiple entry and exit points in higher education. NEP 2020 aims to make education more inclusive and reduce the economic and social pressures that often led to children dropping out. Another major reform is the introduction of technology in education. The NEP recognizes the role of digital learning and has laid down a roadmap of integrating technology into classrooms, making education more interactive and accessible, especially in remote areas. Empowering minds with dynamic content, the Ullas scheme transforms adult literacy, ensuring that teaching inspires, learning thrives, and individuals gain the skills needed for personal and community growth. As India embarks on this ambitious journey with NEP 2020, the goal is not just to improve literacy rates, but to empower every child with the knowledge, skills, and values needed to thrive in the 21st century. On this World Literacy Day, India's reforms in education are a beacon of hope for millions, promising a brighter and more literate future. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
In a historic move towards development of northeastern part of India, Tata Group will set up the first ever semiconductor project of the region at Jagirod in Assam. Tata Sons chairman N. Chandrasekaran said the semiconductor assembly and test facility in Jagirod will produce 48 million chips daily for electric vehicles, mobile phones and various medical equipments. It is expected that more than 10,000 youths will directly get employment in this industry, while another 10,000 will be benefited indirectly from this semiconductor project. You're watching DD India News. Our time now for sports. And today marks the last day of Paris Paralympic Games 2024. Indian contingent's performance was nothing short of extraordinary as they clinched record 29 medals, including 7 gold medals. President of India, Draupadi Murmu, on X expressed her pleasure with the remarkable achievement. She said, and I quote, "I'm extremely pleased with the superlative feats of the Indian contingent in Paris Paralympic Games 2024. The medal tally of 29 in Paris alone is nearly half of the 60 medals won by India in all its 13 games so far. In its 11 Paralympics till 2016, India had won 12 medals. India's performance at Tokyo Paralympics 2020 marked a quantum jump with 19 medals. It has gone up by 10 more at Paris. In this moment of special pride, I join the families, coaches, nutritionists and all the persons and institutions who stood by our Paralympics participants. The stories of every medal winner and other players in Team India need to be told and retold to celebrate their undying spirit amidst crisis. This will inspire the nation, especially our youth." Navdeep Singh won gold in men's javelin throw F41 class at Paris 2024 with a record throw of 47.32 meters. Despite his short stature and previous 4th place finishes at the Tokyo Paralympics and Asian Para Games, he showed resilience and determination. Navdeep's journey is a powerful example of hard work, perseverance and family support, inspiring athletes everywhere to chase their dreams. Navdeep Singh's journey to Paralympic gold is nothing short of extraordinary. The para-athlete from Panipat, Haryana has defied the odds to make history in the men's javelin throw F41 class at Paris 2024. With a stunning throw of 47.32 meters, he not only secured gold but also set a new Paralympic record, earning India its first ever medal in this category. Born with short stature, Navdeep faced challenges early in life, but he refused to let that define him. His passion for athletics pushed him to keep striving, even when the odds seemed stacked against him. Navdeep's 4th placed finishes at Tokyo Paralympics and Asian Para Games were hard-fought battles. But in Paris, he turned those near misses into a glorious victory, displaying his relentless, never-give-up attitude.
Navdeep Singh won the 7th gold medal for India. As you mentioned, the 4th place finish in the Asian Games Paralympics and the Tokyo Paralympics too, he finished 4th. Now it has been converted into a gold medal. That's
exactly. So it takes time. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. It takes time. So don't count the medals. Look at the performance. If you have the performance, medals will come automatically. The problem is we do it the reverse way. We only focus on the medal and not the performance.
Navdeep Singh's journey from a small town athlete to a Paralympic champion is a story of grit, determination and triumph over adversity. He has shown that no obstacle is too big if you have the courage to chase your dreams. His gold medal is a symbol of hard work and an inspiration to countless aspiring athletes across the world. Narayan Singh's report for DD India. Defending champions India begin their campaign in the Asian Champions Trophy with a dominating 3-0 victory over the hosts China. India took an early lead against China in the first quarter as Jugraj Singh's brilliant pass found Sukhjit Singh, who made no mistake to put India ahead. The lead was doubled in the second quarter when Uttam Singh unleashed a powerful shot past the Chinese goalkeeper. Veteran sports administrator Raja Randhir Singh elected unopposed as president of the Olympic Council of Asia during its 44th General Assembly in New Delhi.
In a major development for Indian sports, veteran administrator Randhir Singh was elected unopposed as president of the Olympic Council of Asia during its 44th General Assembly. The event took place at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi and saw the presence of key dignitaries, Union Health Minister J.P. Nadda, Union Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia and Indian Olympic Association President P.T. Usha. Union Health Minister J.P. Nadda praised India's growing global standing, noting the country's success in hosting major international events.
In the past 10 years, our government in India has successfully hosted the FIFA Under-17 World Cup in 2017, the Chess Olympiad in 2022, the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in 2022, F1 Powerboat World Competition in 2022, Field Hockey World Cup in 2023, and ODI Cricket World Cup in 2023. Organizing sports is not only a platform for competition, but it is also a means of communication between cultures and countries.
Union Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia emphasized India's leadership in the global sports arena.
India has successfully hosted global events such as the Commonwealth Games, multiple Cricket World Cups, and the G20 Summit, and now aims to bid for hosting the Youth Olympic in 2030 and the Summer Olympic in 2036.
One key highlight of the assembly was the inclusion of yoga as a discipline in the Asian Games.
Yoga is one sport which is what the world needs. As I mentioned earlier, that in every other sport you have a wear and tear in your body. Yoga reactivates your body.
Inclusion of yoga brings India's ancient heritage to the global stage. With this, India enters a new era of sports leadership, offering a promising future for its athletes and global sports initiatives.
The inclusion of yoga along with the election of Raja Randhir Singh as the president of the Olympic Council of Asia reflects India's growing stature in the world of sports. And apart from that, it is clearly visible that the world is looking towards India for hosting the major events. Last year, India hosted the 141st session of the IOC, and now India hosted the 44th session, the General Assembly of the Olympic Council of Asia. This shows that India is ready to host mega international events. With camera person Saurav, Nahyan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.